The Trump administration opening a new channel in its immigration crackdown as ICE agents descend on Minneapolis to root out illegal Somali immigrants. The operation targeting as many as 500 Somalis in the city. In New Orleans, meanwhile, a city council meeting descended into chaos yesterday when an anti-ICE protester and protesters stormed council chambers, shouting down officials, clashing with police over the launch of Operation Catahoula.
Hey guys, welcome to the video. This is Justin Paul. Today we're talking about ICE going into New Orleans and going into Minneapolis. Looks like those operations are already underway. We're probably about a day or two in to those. Well, looks like this was on Thursday, so we're about 3 or 4 days in to the operations in New Orleans and into Minneapolis. And what ICE's whole goal is they're going in and they're looking to get or detain um, immigrants that are here illegally and who are committing crimes. So they're not looking to detain citizens of the United States, just those who are here illegally and who are committing crimes. And from what we learned in one of the previous videos is they get leads from local law enforcement and tips from the community. And, they use those and, then they go and act upon them. So this is a scene from a meeting that was in New Orleans. It was a council meeting. And yes, you do see feet in the air. So I'm gonna just go ahead and let it play. People are protesting. They do not want ICE's involvement into their cities. And, this is a scene that's played out in pretty much every city that I've seen ICE go into.
Crunch. Joining me now is the Department of Homeland Security Public Affairs Assistant Secretary, Tricia McLaughlin. Tricia, good to have you. Thanks very much for being here. What can you tell us about these new plans in Minneapolis and elsewhere?
Well, absolutely, Marianne. Thank you for having me. Out of Minneapolis, ICE is already on the ground there. USCIS has been doing investigations there for months about immigration fraud. What we're seeing on the ground as far as these immigration cases is that nearly half of them have resulted in fraud or some other defrauding of the system, which is a huge problem. Charges are coming. But on the ground, ICE has already made dozens and dozens of arrests, including a convicted murderer, convicted gang members who have just been released back onto Minneapolis's streets to terrorize their people. And it's such a shame that Tim Walz and the mayor there turn a blind eye and are really complicit in what's happening to Minneapolis. So Secretary Noem is laser focused on this issue, and we're going to bring real results, not just for President Trump, but for the American people.
Yeah, I mean, so is this connected to what we saw in terms of the fraud over the COVID payments?
There is a connection there. It's been really a whole of government approach. President Trump has done such a phenomenal job of removing these silos between our intelligence agencies, between the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security investigations. We've been all over this. I mean, we've also seen, a nexus of terrorism there as far as this Somali population and others in these communities giving money to terrorist cells outside of our country. That's something we're certainly tracking down.
Meanwhile, ICE announced the arrests of multiple Afghan nationals. They were released into the country by the Biden administration during Operations Allies Refuge and Allies Welcome, following the disastrous pullout of Kabul in 2021. Convictions there include crimes of kidnapping and child molestation. More than 5,000 Afghan nationals brought into the country in 2021 were reportedly flagged for now.
So, couple pieces of information that we just got there. They're sharing, so the different federal agencies are sharing information with each other in order to work more effectively and, have a teamwork approach to the operation. Another thing is, a lot of these individuals are committing fraud, whether it was COVID fraud, whether it's public assistance fraud. And, as you can see here from the graphic here, as they're attributing the source to the New York Post, spent over 5K Afghan migrants that were flagged on the national security crown since 2021. 5,000. And, they were, of course, ushered into the country um, with the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and they have been on the national security watch list since 2021. So, that's a good, 4 or 5 years to come in, get themselves acquainted and familiar with America, and observe, do their homework, plan, and you know we don't know what's to come. That's just the whole thing. And what President Trump is trying to do is he's trying to prevent other instances like what happened in DC with the two National Guardsmen. I know a lot of people just don't like this whole thing, but would you rather see them being proactive and stopping, you know, Americans from getting hurt, or them being preyed upon by criminals? Or would you just like to see, any and everything go here in America? That's the kind of question that we have to ask ourselves. Um, what do we want our country to look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Do we want it to be a place to where Americans don't feel safe, or not? I was reading some comments, and some people were saying, our president is a crook and this and that and the third. But they don't really put too much information behind those comments to, substantiate their opinion. So, it is what it is. Like, Trump is not going to be liked, but and just his first year, he's been very proactive on trying to address a lot of the issues that's been haunting America for the last few years.
National security reasons. How is that possible, Tricia? These people were flagged for national security issues, and yet they're still in the country?
They were. And we've had a huge uphill battle on this issue because there was absolutely no vetting by the Biden administration when they were letting 100,000, possibly even 200,000 of these Afghan nationals into our country, primarily military-age fighting men. We're talking about no biometric data, no criminal background checks, no cyber, no financial crime background checks. Really, they were taking statements of fact, vouchers from other people who said, yes, these are good people, they should come into the country. When we're just seeing 3 individuals in the last week alone who came under this Biden parole program, and they turn out to have terrorist interests or commit terrorist acts, as we just saw. Just 2 days ago, out of Virginia, we have an individual who is a member of ISIS-K. His father was also a leader of a militant group in Afghanistan. He should have never been allowed into this country, and yet he has been here for 5 years, and he could have committed just an act of terror. And Maria, we all know it just takes one.
And as you just heard, the thing is, you do not know how deep certain connections are for, some of these people who are coming in from other countries. You don't know who they're related to, who they're friends with. You just don't know. And the only thing it takes is a battery in their back, and then we have a problem. We have a huge problem. And all of that could have been avoided by doing the proper checks, like she was saying, biometric checks, financial checks, everything that must be vetted upon somebody who is coming from another country into America. These checks just have to be done, and when they're able to get over here and none of these checks are done, then you have absolutely no clue what you're dealing with. It's just plain and simple as that.
Unbelievable. Well, look, what about this man with an extensive criminal record who was arrested on Monday after throwing multiple Molotov cocktails at an immigration services building in Los Angeles? He was also reportedly shouting anti-ICE sentiments. DHS held a hearing, holding a hearing Wednesday focused on the attacks on law enforcement officers around the country. And one Democrat is blaming the president's agenda for these attacks. Watch this.
We have all seen the National Guard deploy into communities, not to support law enforcement missions, but to wander down residential streets, help with yard work just outside the Capitol, or simply serve as a political scenery. Now 500 more guardsmen are being sent into Washington, D.C. because this administration is choosing optics over strategy and politics over safety. These people should not be placed in harm's way to serve as props in the president's twisted agenda.
That's crazy. Do you hear what she's saying? To me, this is the politics. Like, I'm trying to follow. I swear I'm trying to follow, and you know I can understand arguments on both sides, but if we're not actively out here, boots on ground, going through these operations, weeding out the criminals and stuff like that, how are we not? How is that not tied into protecting safety? Like, people are going to protest. People are going to protest whether, you know, cause everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their own feeling as far as how things are going. But the one thing that I don't hear is a better solution. I don't hear a better answer or a better way to go about it than what's actually going on. So that's what's crazy to me.
I do not want to hear selective, phony outrage about rhetoric from people who only sometimes, when it's beneficial to them, want to protect law enforcement.
I mean, Tricia, this is fueling this. I mean, death threats against ICE officers are up 8,000%, according to your department. How do you come up with that number?
It's horrendous. What she just said is absolutely vile, Maria. We're not just seeing death threats up against our law enforcement officers. We're seeing assaults against our law enforcement up 1,000%. We're also seeing our law enforcement's families are being impacted. They are being targeted. Their information, where they work, where their children go to school, is being put on the dark web. Our officers are being stalked as they go on their way home. And the fact of the matter is, you don't hear a peep from Gavin Newsom and these sanctuary politicians.
This looks like a clown show. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm sure everyone can see on the to my left here, on the screen. Like, man, it's like a clown show. You got people in inflatable mascot outfits and stuff like that. And again, man, you waving the American flag. You got your signs up and stuff like that. But when something actually happens against American citizens, when they are put in harm's way, when they are actually harmed, where's the outrage then? Where's their outrage? Where's the protests and marches and the picket signs and all this and that when that type of stuff happens? You know, it's just like I say, it's always gonna be somebody that's gonna, you know, protest or be opposing to what's going on. But again, these people are not coming together to come up with a better solution.
As our law enforcement is being targeted, the reality on the ground is that there are 3,600 known or suspected terrorists who have been arrested in just the past 300 days under President Trump and Secretary Noem. That is staggering. The fact of the matter is, these politicians should be thanking our law enforcement, not demonizing them, but of course they'll never do that.
You know, she said it all. So we'll see what becomes of this. I'm definitely gonna keep following it and keep reporting on it. And it's just crazy out here. It's just crazy how people really love a good divide. And it's like the things that they are protesting for is the things that are pretty much harmful to America and everything America has been built on. So we'll just see, you know, what becomes of it. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.